Okay, good. Deep breathing. Inhale. Any questions? How you feel? Pretty good? Yeah. Okay. So let's go to 42 then. We'll run through that and we'll work on a few things inside that. 42? Yeah. Okay. Try to get the mic in place. Okay, ready? Feet put together. Right. Begin. Keep breathing. Okay, so actually, let's go through it again, and then I'll kind of pick spots when you get to them, and then we'll see if we can work a little bit on it. The difficulty is while you're trying to soften one side, the other side doesn't soften. Like you soften the legs, the arms don't keep over. So that's the thing that we have to try to get to happen more consistently. So, okay, ready? Okay, begin. So the grasp the sparrow's tail here, we have to try to build some circularity into much rounder, to keep, because we're dealing with a lot of space, so we want to make sure the volume of the movement is full. So like typically when we open the form, we're here. Then we open the stance and we end up here, which is pretty straightforward. Then we shift, then we open the stance and we're here. Now this is where we have to change directions. And when we change directions, it's totally tied to the legs and the waist. So that really takes us all the way from this point over to here and all the way around to there. So you have to fill all that space up. And the only way to fill it out is because your body only turns this much, then you have to turn the hip, then you have to turn the feet. So all of these, parts of the components, I call them, have to tie into the movement. So once we, say we ward off here, then when we roll back, then we have to initiate the turn. And then try to keep the rotation steady, right? Steady and consistently finding that final destination. So you have to make that travel. So let's try that again, right? Just from here. So we did this. Now let's do it from here. Ward off, and then finish. Go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So let's try that again. So we're here. Ward off. Roll back. Turn. Get your legs working. Turn your body over to here. And then this comes out after you step up, right? And then you go sit back. And then we have to turn back to this rear corner. Then we slide down like this. So the body's here, and it's going to turn. So you want to keep it parallel like this. Right? Now when it gets to here, you shift your weight to the toe, and then you start to turn into this direction, and then bring it back around. So that all that rotation has to happen. So, right, so we're here. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, and sink. Then we have to turn, bring the front foot back to check your weight, and then you can open that stance a little bit longer. Check your weight and open that stance a little longer. Then we're going to go into this parry and punch position. Now we have to turn. We have to wipe across and pivot in this direction. Okay, so we're here. Now we're wiping across, but look at the body has to come here. So we're over this foot, then we stroke down, then we have to square the body. So when you stroke down, you have to still sit into this to press forward. Then you turn, stroke down as a foot gains the weight, and then the body faces the corner, square, and you press. You see, so there's a lot of waist movement in that transition. So it's on the parry and punch, right? The back fist, the parry, you're going to turn. Now weight is coming forward, and then you're going to bring your weight over to here while you get your foot into this position, and you're going out square. Then you're going to turn to the oblique corner, stroke down. Now when you shift your weight, you merge the hands as you become square to that corner. So it does take a lot of control of movement. So let's try that again, just see if we can get that. Try to get into the position at the right time, because you have to get there, then execute. 1, 2, 3. Okay? Parry. 1. 2. 1. 2. So she's missing something wrong. What do you think she's missing? When she do it again, she's missing something, right? See if you can spot what she's missing. Okay, so should be a little bit lower, not so high right now. Your right side is probably better than the left one because the left's lower. You had it too high. But there was one transition when you wipe across that is too, yeah. So so even there when you brush knee, then you parry, fold here, and then when you turn, this starts to come across. Then this hand merges to here, and then you shift down and square. Now when we turn, the hands essentially cross to create that circle. That's sort of like wiping across. You have to wipe across like this. Both hands have to wipe. See what you're missing is the back underhand. You get this hand to hand, then you're wiping here, but you're not moving this hand. They both move because it's moving because watch my body. You see the back hand? So you don't notice the back hand because the body doesn't recognize the movement. You try again, yeah. From the parry, right? From the parry and punch. 1, 2, right? 1, 2. Okay, so needs a little crossover. See, when you're here and you start to turn, the hands, it has a crossover, but they don't actually continue to move. Your body continues to move. So if you continue to move, the pattern of the movement doesn't stop. If your hands want to create the same movement, then it becomes that. But you're going to be out of position doing that because when you turn here, your arms are going to be out. What you have to do is maneuver and come across. And when I switch, both hands are still moving. You see them both moving. They're not stopping. They don't stop until we come to this point of alignment, which is here. Then it comes toward me. And then this position becomes my center position, and then I go forward. I go across, and then when I shift and come down, it's here, and it becomes on my center because my body is moving in space. It's moving into the direction that you're going to execute. So that's proprioception. It's the spatial awareness that you try to develop when you're moving in space. So, to improve skill, okay, on that back fist, right, Arena? So when you do the back fist, as you do the back fist, you want to soften the wrists. So the wrist becomes, otherwise it comes and then it's like this, and this is rigid. See what I mean? So after you push, then when you come to this position, soften the wrist and let the movement cycle to here. Then you release, and then you're going to sit back and turn. Then you're going to stroke down. Then you're going to go forward. Then the elbows relax, and your arms like they're floating around. And then you're here. You see? So for every solid movement, you have an empty movement. If it's solid and solid throughout, then it becomes tight and stiff. So we want to go through a cycle. That's the yin and yang of your movements, right? And then you have to define your space, right? Okay. So there's a lot of spatial awareness that has to be brought in. So the concept, when the hands go down, sink the elbow, relax the shoulder. Manipulate your skeletal structure. Move your center. Get your weight over the supporting foot. Find your center, and you press. And then the next movement, after we press, now our weight is in between the feet. We have to go to the parry and punch. So what's the first thing you have to do? We have to continue forward, right? When you press, then you continue forward. Now we're in line. We parry. Everything is on this center line now. That's your balance point. Now you're going to turn. Now my hand is horizontal. I turn like this, and then my hand drops back to center. So now you have dimensional change. You go from vertical to horizontal. You have to tie that horizontal movement to right and left. You have your vertical elbow down. You have your forward and backward movement. So, these ideas are not new to things that we talk about. But when you get into a new posture and you do a transition, you have to pick up on the spatialness of emotion. So when we're here and we shift forward, the hands are like this. See, everything is tracking to your center. And then when we come around, the hands are coming, and so your hand is like this and like this. So doesn't Rob do a drill sometimes when you go like this and you parry, and then you go like this, and then you go like this? You do a parry, then you turn. The horizontal right and left movement is tied to that action. So because that's a parry and punch in the 24, seems like it's another parry and punch in that form, and another parry punch in the Wu form, and another parry and punch. They're all the same, right? So because it's linked together slightly differently, we have to build that modification and the adjustment of what parry and punch becomes. So because we're here, then we turn, the body's turning, it's capturing the center here, and then we punch. Now once we sit back and come down, then we create the wave. It's like we're coming over like this. And then we go like this, and then we expand and then compress. So it's like you're playing that instrument they have, the accordion, right? Yeah. So your accordion is expanding and then compressing, and it's like a bellows. What the bellows is, you're expanding to let air in, and then when you compress it, it moves air out. So opening and closing is that feeling. But when you do the feeling and it opens and closes, You have to have structure. You can't just do that. Because you're doing this, watch my elbows. So they're coming out like this, and then they're coming in as a compression. But then when it compresses, your body is closing, not the arms. If the arms close, then it looks very physical. You have to expand from here and in your back. So when you expand and release, it's like your shoulders are coming together. You see, so there is a lot of muscular control. Now, they say don't use strength, use your mind. So the mind intent is an idea. You use your mind to direct the movement. But what is it directing? It's directing the neurons that control that specific motor skill. Opening and closing is really, if my shoulders come together and open, you've rounded your back, right? Horizontally round. When you bend like this, you have vertical round. Because the body has really that kind of structure that creates that sort of horizontal circle. And then we have the vertical circle like this. Then we have the vertical circle like this. So how do we get our body to create those circles? Well, first, the shoulders come together. It feels like you're rounding. If I roll forward, it feels like I'm rolling my back. Feel like some of the exercises you do, you're lying on your back and you're doing these crunches and whatever you're doing, holding your, trying to fix the discomfort in your lower back, and you lie there and do all these things. Try to put yourself, but we're doing it standing in place. It's muscle control of your skeletal structure by moving. And then where's this vertical circle? It's arching. It's bending from side to side. You can't make a circle completely there. You're creating arcs in direction. Well, how does that happen? Is because your spine goes that way and your ribs collapse. They fold, they compress. Then you open your ribs and then it does it on the other side. If you open them both evenly, then you're in a vertical position. Right? That's how your skeleton works. That's what your anatomy is doing. Your anatomy is able to do this because of the different joints in your body. So what's in the joints? There's connective tissue. There's, in some cases, ligaments and tendons. Around here, you don't have a whole lot of bulk muscles that really are big enough to be noticed. It's only more in your arms. So your arm does most of the motion when you're doing stuff up here, and your legs do it on the bottom, and your torso kind of pulls it all together. So the only thing your torso can do is round, create a direction of roundness. Right? So between rounding and straightening is the idea of balance. So if you go round, you have to straighten. If you go straight, you have to go round, and depending on which way you're going. If you bend that way, you've got to go this way. You might not go all the way. You might just come up to here. Right? So the thing is that's what we're trying to build, is that kind of control, because that control builds tremendous, motor skill with the ability to direct your movement. So when they say use your mind to direct the movement, you first have to understand what you're directing and what has to happen. So when we're here, we're in the parry punch position, and we sit back, we turn, and you do this. Then when you stroke down as the weight comes to here, and you square the body, then you go forward. Now when you sit back and you wipe across, the intent of the movement is like you're chopping across, and then it comes to here, you stroke down, and then you square the body, and it comes to here. Now we can't just do this. We have to get to our center. That's right here, with the spine over the heel, and we turn. Now everything is vertical in line, and then we rotate at this point to take it around to the side. Now the elbow almost form 90 degrees before you sink the elbow and drive it forward. And then when we cross the forearms and then come down, we open the chest and round. So it's not just arms doing this, it's because your body is doing this. Okay, then we turn to here. And we open, we have weight going that way, and then it goes the other way as you compress. Now because we're weighted here, we span out like this, and we shift. And we move, wipe across, come around, fist under elbow. Okay, so we're here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So what do we have a lot of is when the hands cross and we separate the horizontal motion between right and left and right is what the hands are doing. They work in two ways. One's active, one's passive. When this comes across and I go like this, or I go like this, then you see active and passive movement, because what becomes passive becomes a function of your torso. When the torso starts to move, then when you start to connect and disconnect your joints. This is just using this form as a vehicle to develop those intricate movements. Those intricate movements aren't everything, but the thing is, you have to have some method to develop it. But while you're developing it, you develop imagery, integration, substantial and insubstantial. All of these concepts are all built inside the principles of Tai Chi. It's actually built into the principles of, all martial arts. Some don't show it as much, or some are a little bit more stiff or rigid, and it's not apparent. But if it's too rigid, it's too extreme. If it's too soft, it's too extreme. So you got to find the balance between the two, because everything we do, is looking for that center, that balance, right? The balance point. So balance is not just standing and not tipping over. Balance is motion. Whether you're moving right or left, forward and back, up and down, you have to have that balance. And then the balance that creates that is your musculature and your skeleton. How you manipulate your skeletal structure to create all the things that we're trying to meet those standards as a principle. So a principle is really something that we kind of try to understand, and we analyze it. We put it into a certain idea, but when the body hasn't caught up to the concept, you struggle with it, and then you have to interpret it in some ways, because the body is evolving. So we took it from the beginning up to that point. You can see there's a lot of spatial rotation, right? So let's go from here. Turn 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2. Sit back, look square, turn, open, close. 1, toe, 2, 3. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1. Turn. 2. Shift. Square. Forward. Here's that wiping, right and left. Shift your weight. Square. 1. Shift. Vertical line. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Open, close. Open, shift. 1, 2. Relax the shoulder. 3, 4, and 5. So everything leads you to the final position in each of your single postures. There's always a final position. Just for an instant, you have to be there, and that instant really gets recorded in your brain over time, and it starts to know that that's where it's going, and then you move on from there. So, while we're thinking of switches and on and off and synapses, those become some of the trigger points that lead you to the next motion. And those trigger points kick in every time there's something that changes. So what happens, your body and your brain become so intelligent that it knows exactly what it is. So that cross-training that we do, or doing different forms, that's all leading to getting your body to recognize all of these timing mechanisms. So you have beginning, end, transition, and in the transition, it'll constantly evolve with the integration of all those parts. Okay, not bad. Okay, we'll bow. Ready? Up. So that's for you to house and then struggle with it, and then it takes time to practice, and you get there eventually. So that's it. So tomorrow, eventually Thursday is just going to be another live Tai Chi class in the morning. We'll probably stream it, but I'll just try to see if we can get people, when they start to come back, it'll be a live class. Morning streaming, unless I can turn it on or someone does it remotely, will just be a streamed out class. Evenings, we're going to tie streaming into more of the complete class. And the idea is that we're going to do an hour and a half class. 20 minutes of that class, I'll break out of here, go into there, and do a tutorial on what we're working on in that session for people that are streaming.